Are you serious? Are you serious? All right, folks. The destruction of Damascus. It's happened. I mean, we know that President Assad and his regime are setting in an area there that's completely protected by the Syrian army, the Russian army, and the Iranians, Revolutionary Guard, okay? And it's off limits, really, to the United States to come flying there and try to take Assad out of power. But the rest of the city of Damascus is absolutely a ruinous heap. Now, here's what the Bible says, and I'm going to tell you how I know that. I had breakfast this morning with L.A. Marzulli, and during the Hear the Watchman conference, during his speech he gave, the message he brought forward on Saturday afternoon, L.A. Marzulli showed a video of Damascus. You wouldn't believe it. Miles and miles, city block after city block after city block, completely in ruins. Now, I can also confirm this video I've seen because I saw it with my own eyes, standing on the Golan Heights in Israel, on the border of Syria, with Stephen Ben Danoon, with a high-powered lens. We looked right down the streets of Damascus, looked right into the buildings, looked right down the streets, and we looked right into windows of buildings completely in rubble, people just walking around in the rubble. Complete disaster. Folks, the Bible says in Isaiah 17 verse 1, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. But it's not the only place that we get a prophecy in the Bible about the destruction of Damascus. If you go to Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 23 through 27, it says, concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee. And fear has seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord of hosts. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus. Now, L.A. Marzulli, we were having breakfast this morning as we were getting ready to leave Knoxville, Tennessee. And he says to me, you were there. You saw it with your own eyes. You looked through the lens. You saw it with Stephen Ben Danoon. It's a ruinous heap. I said, L.A., you won't believe this. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And we could see the smoke rising. And Stephen Ben Danoon was back there, and this was June. Now, Stephen was back there 3 weeks ago, and the war rages on. The chaos continues. Now, John F. Kerry, the Secretary of State, has recently been actually in the Middle East. He's been meeting with different groups, and there's a secret video that has leaked that Stephen Ben Danoon got his hands on, was able to watch. And I actually now have a link to it, and I can put it in the description below. Stephen does a great job in bringing out the prophecy of what's going on there. You have to look at Ezekiel 38, and you have to look at Psalms 83. And I asked Marzulli, I said, which one do you think is first? Is it? He said, I don't know. It could go either way. Psalms 83 could lead into Ezekiel 38 or vice versa. And matter of fact, it's the same thing that Dr. Chuck Missler is saying. And Stephen Ben Danoon now has breaking news. Listen to what John Kerry said. In the secret video, John Kerry says these words. I listened to it 3 times. He says to these people in the secret room, he says, we saw ISIS rise up and taking over half the country. And we watched it. We just sat back and we watched it because we figured ISIS is going to take this country and they're going to take Assad out of power, and we're going to just sit back and watch it happen. It would have happened had Russia, he said, not got involved and stopped ISIS from finishing the job. Now, this is unbelievable, really. I mean, I'm sitting there listening. I'm watching it. I'm listening and watching the man say what we all knew, that ISIS is basically formed out of the foreign policy doctrine of Barack Obama and his failed, I don't know, call it what you want. He left all this hardware there, and ISIS picked up and ran with it. And we were not going to stop ISIS if they could get Assad out of power, which has done nothing but create total chaos now. Look at the Middle East. The whole Arab Spring falls squarely on the responsibility of the Obama administration. It's created by the Clinton, when Clinton was Secretary of State, and being implemented by John Kerry as he's been at Secretary of State. And folks, it is following biblical prophecy. Unbelievable. You say, yeah, but it hasn't fallen. It's not a city. And L.A. Marzulli said to me, he said, Paul, I looked the whole thing over. It's not a city anymore. It's just it's a war zone. It's a crumbling rubble everywhere with desperation everywhere. It's no longer functioning no more. Just Assad and his small regime protected in the center of the city, so of what's left of the city. Anyway, this is a prophecy alert, and I'm real concerned now with the information that I shared with you earlier today while I was on the road. Again, that Stephen Ben-Nun brought forward, that Russia is literally fearing a nuclear attack, and how they're starting nuclear emergency drills with 40 million of their citizens. We also have information, I just got it about a half hour ago, where Russia is moving their missile system into Syria. Matter of fact, I'm just going to give it to you right here. It's Fox News just announced it, that Russia deploys advanced anti-missile system to Syria for the first time, and that's been confirmed by the U.S. Military, by the Pentagon. All right? So it's getting ugly. It's getting really ugly. And the winds of war are blowing over Damascus. Give your life to Jesus Christ. Seriously, we're in the last days. Pray for these people there.